From Scripps Sports, this is Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Well, one of the dates that's always circled on the calendar of Bobcat football fans is coming up this Saturday. It's Gold Rush, and it's the Bobcats and the Jackrabbits at Bobcat Stadium. Hello, everybody. I'm Keaton Galogly alongside Grace Lawrence. We've got head coach Brent Vigen joining us in a moment, and running back Julius Davis will join the show a little bit later as well. All right, Grace. South Dakota State, Montana State, two of the top three teams in the country. This is about as big as it gets.
I mean, this really feels like what could be, the biggest non-conference game to happen in Bobcat Stadium. And to have it be for a Gold Rush game nonetheless is just absolutely incredible. And, the players and the coaches aren't really saying it going in this one. But I'll say it, I think this game has playoff implications, home field advantage implications come December, January.
No doubt we could determine who's hosting a semifinal game of the playoffs based on the result of this game. And, of course, these two teams and fan bases very familiar with each other. Already the fourth meeting in the 2020s. And for Montana State, some revenge on their mind, not only from 2023, but in the first 15 Gold Rushes, there's only been one loss by Montana State, and that was against this South Dakota State team in 2017.
Yeah, just crazy. I mean, but you think about that last matchup, that nail-biter over in Brookings in 2023. But, there's a lot of new faces on this field. It might be, a storied rivalry for these fan bases, but a lot of guys with their first taste of what this rivalry kind of is.
No doubt. Chase Mason will be starting at quarterback for South Dakota State, and Justin Lamson makes his Bobcat Stadium debut with the 6 o'clock kickoff coming up on Saturday. Head coach Brent Vigen joins us after this on the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Back on the Bobcat Insider, Keaton Galogly alongside head coach Brent Vigen. Coach, can kind of start to put this Oregon game to rest, but overall, I mean, you can kind of get lost in the score and just the surface level, but maybe what's one positive and one maybe area of improvement you guys are looking at coming out of that game?
Well, I think the overarching positive piece is that we kept going after it, and that resulted in a score at the end. It really didn't result in a defensive stop, but I think a lot of opportunity to keep grinding away. And I think that's what your takeaway is a lot of things we can improve upon. There's a fair amount of credit that certainly goes to Oregon, but I think looking at the film, you could say, fundamentally, there's things we could have done better. And I know in a game like that, whether you have to be perfect, you need to be really close to perfect as far as your fundamentals go. You need to catch a few breaks, and neither of those things happened enough for us. So back to work, and I think the experience piece and being in that kind of environment against that kind of team will serve us well, albeit the score was what it was, and it's still a loss in the loss column.
Yeah, still a lot of debuts and firsts for some guys. Rocky Lencioni, Dane Steele, Jabez Woods, all their first catches. Xavier Aarons, Cole Taylor, all getting in there. Overall, how impressed were you with some of these guys who really haven't had much college run to walk into that atmosphere and how they performed?
Yeah, they had no choice. They want to play. That happened to be our first opponent. And I think when you get out there and playing for the first time, offense, defense, I know some of those guys have played some special teams. You realize it is just football. Now it's football at a really fast rate, and I think you try to do everything you can to get caught up in a hurry. So I think out of that young group, and that's some young second-year guys, some young even third-year guys, and there's a few true freshmen. I think we were pleased, again, with the effort, the competitive nature. There's certainly some things to clean up, but that first experience is behind them, and I think there's a great trajectory for all of them.
Now, in this game, the running game took a little time to get going in this one. Obviously, reshuffled offensive line, a Big Ten defensive line, but overall, what are you looking out of that running back room for coming up this weekend?
Well, hopefully some better opportunities. I know for both Julius and Adam, I don't think the opportunities were plentiful by any means. A lot of penetration, killed those runs pretty quickly. I thought they both had a chance to make a few runs that then looked like themselves, and most of that came as time went on. So I think that was our O-line figuring some things out. I know they substituted, but their next line of guys is really good too. So we need to play better there. I think the recipe for us is always going to be we have to run the football on offense, and we got to find a way to do it. And if that's more on the perimeter, that's fine. If it's the ability to run between the tackles, that's great. If we can do both, that's obviously best case scenario. We have good backs. I think our quarterback in Justin is certainly a threat to run. So we need to find ways to get that going against South Dakota State.
Yeah, for Justin Lamson, one of the things we've talked a lot about this week is his competitive nature and his fire that we certainly saw on the field. When you think back to him as a high school recruit, was he that fiery? Is that that kind of competitive edge you saw back then?
Well, it goes back a ways. I think what I recall is the conversation with his head coach and just describing, his competitive level. I think what you're looking for are you see what you see on the film, but what are those intangibles? And competitive nature is certainly one of them. Leadership capabilities, intelligence, and I know, going back to talking to his head coach, it's a while back. I think they felt strongly about that at Oak Ridge, and this is our first time to see it up close and personal, but it wasn't a surprise to us.
Yeah, well, and for your players and his teammates, probably their first opportunity to really see it from full bore between the white lines. How did you see his teammates kind of respond to him and the way he carried himself in this game?
Yeah, I like to think it was not a huge surprise to them either, but then you see it up close and personal. Here's your quarterback competing as hard, if not harder, than any one of you out there, fighting for yards. I know he had that 4th and short that it was kind of a one-man show for him to get that done, and just continuing to push forward. He wants it. He wants this opportunity to go well. He really appreciates being here. I think he does appreciate his teammates, and I think his teammates appreciate him too.
Flipping over to the defensive side after this game as well. Obviously, didn't have 2 starters kind of early in the game due to some early injuries, but overall for some of those young players, particularly the defensive backs, what did you see out of them, and how was their first performance?
Yeah, I think some good and some bad. I know they're out there on islands, and we didn't tackle a couple times against some really good players, but then we did. We made some really good plays on the perimeter. I thought we kept the ball in front of us, which was the plan going in, with the exception of one coverage bust. So I think there's a lot of positives to take. Again, being challenged to such a high degree, maybe not owning up to the challenge at every opportunity, but I think being that much better for it the next time. They are challenged in some of those situations. Certainly from a tackling perspective, they have to do better. They're going to be put in those positions, and it's hard lessons to learn, I guess, against a really good team, but hope they learned them.
All right, well, once you've learned them, you got to apply them to this weekend coming up against South Dakota State. Going to be a great matchup, great game. Got to start at the quarterback position for them. Chase Mason, the new guy, replacing Mark Gronowski. World of talent. Got his first game in, first start in. What did you see from him in that game against Sac State? And did he look like a guy who's just coming off and making his first start, or did he look like a pretty complete package?
Oh, I think he looked like a guy ready for that opportunity. He's been in that program for a bunch of years. He's played a lot of football relative to being a backup. I'm sure he's obviously been ready to go for a long time for a very good team. So his preparation, while it maybe didn't have to play out in that way in past years, I'm certain he's done that. So he looked like a guy ready for that opportunity. He's certainly a dual threat type of guy. He's got a really strong arm. Was accurate on Saturday. Can pull it down and scramble. He can certainly run the ball and design runs as well. So he's not exactly the same as Mark Gronowski, but he's an awfully talented guy taking over for an awfully talented guy.
Yeah, on their defensive side, only gave up 3 points to Sac State. Seemed like some of their linebackers were really flying all over the place. What did you see from this defensive side? And I know head coach Dan Jackson's a defensive coordinator by trade.
Yeah, I think what you see is a group that was ready to play for sure, and those guys have been in that program. It's guys that maybe haven't been starters, but they've been in that program. A lot have played roles, and they've seen how it's done, and they played extremely hard. It starts with the group up front. I think they're very disruptive in their defensive line. Linebacker, safeties, filling fast and making tackles, and then their ability to cover on the outside was evident too. So, great all-around performance to start the season off, and they're going to be a great challenge for our offense.
Well, and one other challenge for them is going to be this big crowd at Gold Rush. Do you say anything to your team, just like, hey, it's going to be big, you don't have to go too high, too hype? I mean, what's the special message going into a game like this?
Well, I think you're definitely going to feel the crowd. You're going to feel it when you run out, but ultimately they're there to watch us play well, and we need to be able to feed the crowd. I think that's the most important thing. The crowd's going to do everything they can to pull us along, and there's a part of that, but we have to play well. It's certainly about playing well in Gold Rush as opposed to just playing in Gold Rush. And against a good team like this, we're going to have to prepare really, really hard and, take that step, the game 1 to game 2 step, like you're supposed to, and see a different, version of us on Saturday, in front of our home crowd.
All right, it's going to be a great game, going to be a great time, going to be a great weather day as well. Coach, appreciate the time, and looking forward to seeing you guys out there this weekend.
Thanks a lot, Keaton.
All right, we'll take a break, and in just a bit, we'll be joined by running back Julius Davis on the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Back on the Bobcat Insider, Keaton Globally alongside Grace Lawrence. We just talked to head coach Brent Vigen, kind of trying to put this Oregon game to bed now before we get ready for Gold Rush on Saturday. And Grace, I know the score was a little lopsided against a Big Ten power, but does this change your outlook on the season at all?
Yeah, you know, if I'm a Bobcat fan, I would not be freaking out. I mean, Oregon is a powerhouse FBS program. They want to win a college football national championship at that level this year. There were some positives that came out of that game, in my opinion. I mean, Lampson's arm, that throw game, hitting his weapon in Taco Dalla, I thought was really positive. But what I'm most excited for this upcoming Saturday is to see how the team can turn the page. Another big opportunity, you know, how do you bounce back from a loss like that?
No doubt. And really, you go into this game, despite that loss at Oregon, with all three of the main goals still in front of you, right? That's beat the Grizz, win the Big Sky, win a national championship, and all of that can continue with this game coming up against South Dakota State. Now, we did hear some positives about the offense. Coach Vigen just mentioned Justin Lampson and how his teammates really responded, but also this defense looked really good at times. I mean, that was a young defense. Xavier Aarons, number 43, true freshman. 3 redshirt freshman cornerbacks got out there, and I thought Vigen really pointed out too that they didn't get beat deep. There was one busted coverage. That was it. That's a pretty good thing for this young bunch.
Yeah, I mean, they were really exciting. I think that their ceiling is so high. We'll get to see more of that this Saturday. You know what I think the offense really has to do is hone in that run game. I mean, it wasn't really able to get going. That offensive line saw kind of a shift because of an injury at center. So, you know, I'm excited to see those evil twins take the field on Saturday, Adam Jones and Julius Davis, and we'll be talking to the Wisconsin native Davis after this.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Welcome back into the Bobcat Insider. I'm pleased to be joined with standout running back Julius Davis. Thanks for joining me in studio today.
Thank you for having me here today. It's an honor.
Yeah, you know, what are the emotions like? Final season for you collegiately, but what's going through your head?
Just making it the best one yet. Being here with the guys, being here with my brothers, having that opportunity to just be on the field again with them for one last ride. So.
Yeah, it was definitely tough, I have to imagine, last season, having the injury, bouncing back, then kind of getting injured again. Mentally, how'd you stay so strong, though, and really were there for your teammates?
Well, first and foremost, it started with the man above. You know, I had to talk to my mom and had a lot of reflection and had to get back with him. And then after that, you know, it was pretty easy. It was just watching my guys ball. They were supporting me as I was on the outside looking in, and never once looked back and forgot about me. So it was awesome. You know, I was excited and proud. A lot of guys stepped up and made huge plays and contributions. So it was a pretty cool deal.
Yeah, you know, choosing to stay with it and then stay with Montana State. You've talked about that before. Why?
It's just the community, my brothers here, the teammates, and the coaches. All of it combined has helped me find my love again for football. Before, you know, I kind of lost that path and that journey, and it's rough, you know, but being here in Montana, specifically with Montana State, you know, that brought it all back. It brought me back to my foundation. It brought me back to my why I play this game. So.
Did you ever think a place like Montana could take you in the way they did?
No, honestly. It was pretty cool. You know, they took me in with open arms right when I got here from my visit. So it was really cool deal. And now I've never experienced genuine people and a type of community like this ever before. So.
Yeah, you know, getting into the game, you guys are coming off of not the way you obviously wanted to start the season against Oregon, but what are those positives you took away that you can take into the rest of the season?
You know, a lot of the guys, they didn't have a lot of experience going into this game. There are a lot of young guys, and we knew that going into this game. We knew it was going to be a challenge, it's going to be a good football team we're going against. But the best thing about it was the guys didn't shy away from it. Obviously, it didn't go the way we wanted to. They have a great team on their end, so that's props to them. But that was valuable experience. Coach Vigen talks about it all the time. That was valuable experience, valuable reps for those young guys to get, because now the game may slow down for them a little bit because they kind of got thrown into the storm. And that's a big thing we talk about. We'd rather go into the storm than run away from it and be in it for longer. Let's go into the storm so we can attack it and grow from there. So.
Yeah, Taco Dalla said post-game that Vigen said in the locker room, you don't lose, you learn. Is that kind of that sentiment?
100%. You don't lose at all. It's never losses, it's only lessons. and things you can learn from. Because ultimately, if you're always on the high horse, and you've never met adversity, when you do have to meet adversity face to face, you're not going to know what to do with it. So having a young group and being able to go into that storm and face the adversity that we did and show that there was not a sign of quit, that's a huge thing to see, especially in young guys. So.
And some adversity before the game even started. The offensive line kind of had a shake up. How proud for them were you?
Oh, I was extremely proud. Some guys just got thrown in the fire, and that's a testament to the coaches, a testament to the players, and the guys we recruit. But when your number's called, you have to be ready. You might not necessarily have everything go the way you want it, but as long as you're going in there with the right mindset and attacking it, and realizing we're in this together. So.
Yeah, and turning the page. How do you turn the page? Because you got another gauntlet of a matchup coming up this Saturday.
So just like you said, never losses is just lessons. So we take those lessons, we learn from them, and we go to work. The next day, we go 1-0 that day. Take the things that we learned from the things we went through and try to apply it and learn from it and do just that. Just attack, and keep working every day. So.
Yeah, you were one of the players that was a part of that game a couple years ago, the last time you guys met against the Jackrabbits back in Brookings. That game didn't end the way you guys wanted it to. So how much of that edge do you kind of bring into this Saturday?
Oh, a lot of it. I was talking to my coach. There's a chip on my shoulder. There's a chip on, I'd say, all the guys' shoulder that was a part of that game, even the coaches that were a part of that game. It didn't go the way we wanted to, but we want to attack this. We want to be 1-0. Last week happened, that's cool. But we have some history with this team that we want to address and we want to attack. So, we're just putting in work, trying to work every day. And hopefully when Saturday comes around, we get the outcome we want. So.
Yeah, those guys who have never faced South Dakota State or maybe a Missouri Valley Conference team, they've never had a Gold Rush. What are you telling them in that locker room? Just know
this is a football team that is good. They have their systems, just like we have our systems. They're going to run what they want to run, but this is another challenge. We went into the storm, and we're not going to stop. We're going to continue going through that storm. But no, this game, it means something to the community. It means something to the players. It means something to the coaches that have all been a part of playing these guys. So just knowing that this week is no different than even last week. We have a good opponent coming in here, and we're ready to attack that. So.
Yeah, to be alongside Adam Jones, your evil twin, back in Bobcat Stadium. How excited are you guys?
Oh, very excited. It's going to be really cool. Just even sharing the field with him last week was awesome, but to do it at home now in front of all our fans, it's going to be a cool deal, real cool deal. So.
One message for Bobcat Nation this weekend.
Hey, cheer loud and proud. Go Cats.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining me, and good luck this Saturday. Scripps Sports will have your broadcast, and Keaton and I will be coming up to preview that game after this.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Welcome back into the Bobcat Insider. Grace Lawrence joined alongside Keaton Galogli. And Keaton, I always love talking to Julius because he always brings that competitive edge, whether it be on the field or, just talking to him about this upcoming matchup. I mean, he was one of the guys that was on that field back in Brookings a couple of years ago. He was honest. There's still that edge there to get some revenge for 2023.
No doubt. Frankly, I'm still not sure why Cleveland Thomas had his call overturned in that end zone, but that is another conversation for another day, and we can't change it now. So hopefully you don't need a last-second touchdown in a game like this, but there's going to be a lot of different factors with two of the top three teams in the country. Grace, I'll start with you. Give me one big key to this matchup.
I've been saying it since fall camp because this Montana State defensive line is so seasoned, so experienced. I mean, Chase Mason is a legit dude. Even though he was sitting behind Gronowski, he is a guy who is very comfortable and in that starting quarterback position. But if that defensive line can get after him for Montana State, I mean, that makes everyone's jobs behind them easier. You start getting a little bit flustered. That crowd of 20,000 plus gets in your head. I'm most excited for that defensive line this Saturday.
I think that's a really good one, especially considering South Dakota State gave up 7 sacks against Sac State last Saturday. All right, for me, I think I'm going to go with the distribution to the wide receivers. Taco's game was awesome. 12 catches, a career high. His previous career high was 4, but can the Bobcats distribute some of that passing to some of the other wide receivers? Because there is a heck of a collection of pass catchers on this team. All right, Grace, week 2 coming up, 6 o'clock kickoff for Gold Rush on Saturday between Montana State and South Dakota State. We'll talk then.